Hello, folks. My name is Gary Carr, and I'm the Industrial Maintenance Technology Teacher at the Laurel County Center for Innovation. We've been tasked by Dr. Michael Wallach to give a video as our final project displaying some of the things that we've created to help our students learn our trades and to show some mastery, our own skills over these trades. Now, my plan is a little more complicated than it probably needs to be, judging by the criteria that I've seen on his rubric. What I'm going to do is, since we've created so many projects, I've built so many things that I've put out there to help my students learn and to be able to do the job, I'm going to do a walking tour of some of the things that I've built and put together. At each stop, I'll try to stop, give a little description of why, when, how long I've had it, and if I had any assistance creating it, I'll be sure to throw it in there as well. Now, the video will probably be just a little bit jarring. It's going to be my first attempt. I've never made a video like this. I've never posted a video like this. I'm looking forward to it, but the editing will probably be rough. So you'll just have to bear with me on that one. All right, here we go. Okay, so I wanted to start with one that I'm actually in the process of building right now. Here is, and this is actually the second version of this, but here is a wall that we're building, or a series of walls, for my students to be able to practice conduit bending on. So you can see we're starting to install some boxes down here. We've got some materials laid out. And if I pan back up, you can actually see that we've still got some clamps on this and ladder in place. I'm actively building this when I'm not making this video. So this was inspired by this trainer. Now this trainer I built last week. Again, same layout, 3 partial walls on 16-inch stud centers, and some boxes here, some metal boxes. The kids will do a box offset, 3-point saddle, 90, and another box offset to finish. And you can actually see where they've been using this. They've done some great work so far. They've come a long way in a very little time. From the side, you can see there's really not much to these. I mean, very, very simple, but whole lot of value in it. Whole lot of stuff we're getting from the kids here. Okay, now let's move on to our next one. So here's one that I'm really proud of. I built 2 of these so far. Last year was my first attempt at a motor controls class. I'm only a 3rd-year teacher. First time PLCs this year. Last year, first time motor controls, and the year before that was principles of electricity. Last year, after teaching the course, I spoke with our administrator and kind of made the offhand quip, the offhand comment that I could build a trainer that would do so much more than what we were buying for less. And of course, if you ever throw something like that out there, the response is, okay, do it. So here we go. Now these begin on a 208 bus that we've had installed in the room. This simply has a breaker on the top for me to control the power being on or off for my students. Come down for a redundant disconnect here where the kids actually will have to put the fuses in with the power shut off. As you can see, we're doing lockout, tag out, such a big thing for my trade. Moving down, you can see it's really rudimentary. I mean, we have some simple, just terminal bars there. You notice the 3 phases of power coming in. We go down to some push button stations, an emergency stop if we want, pressure switches, transformers. Moving up just a little bit, you can see we have power supplies for DC voltage. We've got a soft start, various types of timing relays, contactors, relays, manual contactors, transformers for controlled power, buck boost setups, VFDs, so they can learn kind of the capstone motor controls, what everybody's going to, these drives controlling the motors for us. Up in the top corner, we even have things like inductive and capacitive proximity switches, sensors. Off on the side, what you really can't see there is we've actually got a photo eye installed. The photo eye is kind of what you'd see on your garage door outside your home. And the kids are learning to install this, or learning how to work with these things, how to make it happen. Now down here, we'll get back to that in just a second. Down here, we have a 3-phase motor. Normally these are mounted on 2x6s, but they were looking a little rough, so I removed them before the video, just 100% honest. And you can see that the leads are actually getting quite short from where my students have cut and recut over the years, over the last couple of years. So the thought right now is I'll probably end up running a piece of cable in, let them do their connections inside the motor there, and then feed back to another terminal bar somewhere beside that black one there. Now, Here, you'll notice that I've got a small lockout tagout lock storage station. So originally I had the keyed locks, which are industry standard. The difference is we're not working with technicians in the real world. We're working with students. The students were having a lot of trouble losing the keys, misplacing the keys. We'd have to cut off the locks. We were going through quite a few, and retraining didn't really seem to be helping. So what I did instead is I opted for the third path. We got some combination locks, and if you'll notice that behind here, behind every lock is a letter which corresponds to a tag on the back of the lock. Okay? Now, on these notepads, you'll notice we've got the letter that corresponds to the letter on the back of the lock, and we've got the combination here. One added bonus from that I really didn't anticipate was a lot of kids didn't know how to work a combination lock. So a lot of my students are learning that as kind of just an extra skill, and I enjoy that quite a bit. All right, if we'll pan down here, we can kind of see another project that I built, something that has actually worked out quite well, but we didn't know that it would. So what I've done here is I built a simple wooden frame, piece of 1/2-inch conduit run through that with some holes that were drilled there, and used some cotter pins off on the side to retain that bar. On it, what we have are spools of wire. Now, this is nothing new, it's not a new concept, but I think it's really important for the kids to see not only what does industry do, but that we don't have to buy everything off the shelf. You know, we can take the bits and pieces, we can take the scraps and really do something useful, something creative with that. Now, we're on our third iteration of that. We had to add a little extra space, but revision is part of the process. So we're really enjoying that. Now, speaking of storage and cleaning, if you are one of those teachers who is buying a trainer or who's getting something, we personally have some Amatrol trainers, particularly for motor controls and for the PLC classes. These wires and all those little accompanying parts are really easy for the kids to lose or to make a mess with. Organization is something that we have to teach. It's something we have to work on. So here what we've done is we take a piece of Panduit, which is just a trough for wires to be fed through, and I cut it in half. Mounted on a large wooden frame, and we made a storage system for ourselves. We made something that we can store these wires on and keep it a little cleaner. And the kids have responded great to it. I mean, they've done a wonderful job. As you can see, they've got all the wires back on here. Everything's neatly, it's all in its place. They do a good job. Okay, so what we've got over here to the side of the Panduit storage system is we've got some exemplars that I've made for conduit bins for my students. Now, these you'll notice are all labeled, and I've tried to put a good example of every bin done by myself on these boards for them. Now, I built these just to kind of show the kids what I'm looking for, and I found that it really helps if they can see what we're after, if they can see the end product. If I say I want a box offset, and they can look at one actually coming into a box laid out the correct way with all the measurements. Or if we want to do a 3-point saddle, a 90, or the 4-point saddle. Some of these are hard. Some of these the kids really struggle with. But with a good example, or a decent one, they seem to do really well, and they enjoy that. An added bonus was we actually can remove these or let the kids lay theirs right next to mine and see if it fits, see if it works. Okay, so here's something that is actually relatively new, and I'm pretty proud of this one. We've actually come together, my teaching aide, myself, and a couple of my senior level students have built these rooms. We have 2 of these. The intention is that we're getting as close to a house as we can in the lab. Now you notice we have studs set up on 16-inch centers here on the wall. And I had the kids come after we're done and install a couple of boxes, run a few simple circuits for you to kind of see what we're after here, see what we're doing. You'll notice these branches come up. We can install overhead lighting. We can do ceiling fans, heaters, vents, whatever we needed. And they feed back to a panel box, a service panel. So, normally not going to be in your bathroom, granted, but in here we could actually remove this, wire in this water here you see on the shelf right behind it, and we can do plumbing work. We can run PVC, copper pipe, PAX cable, PAX piping, whatever we need, all right? We can do a whole lot of things with the same space, and that was very, very important to me. We can install subflooring on the floor joist. We can lay tile down there when that's done. We can run pipes underneath. On the walls, we can do paneling over there. We can do drywall. We can get a lot of utility out of that, a very, very big amount of utility. Okay, so I know this is a little bit of a tight angle, but what we actually have here are 4 back-to-back rooms built with common and adjacent walls. Now these are on 24-inch centers, and this is where my first-year students will come. As you can see, they can learn to install boxes, they can learn how to run cable, how to run circuits, and I'm thinking at this point we're going to install some individual circuit breakers and some individual panels on each wall. I'm gonna have it to where the kids can install those and remove them. We have the ceiling joist in here. We've got the stud walls. And you see over there in the corner, we actually have a pile of boxes or a stack of boxes that the kids can use to install single gang, double gang, round boxes for lights, conduit that we can install right along the walls, the bases, whatever we want to do. Okay, folks, so that was some of the stuff that we built here. We got to look at some trainers. We got to look at some storage systems that we built. We saw a small house that my kids had put together and some motor control stations that I really enjoyed, that the kids have learned a lot with. The thing that I guess I want to point out, or the thing I really want to mention again, is that these things are always subject to revision. We should always be looking for that next iteration, that next improvement we can make, watching the kids and trying to see what would make this better, what would make this smoother, what would really help the kids learn. Beyond that, I really enjoyed this class. I really enjoyed the coursework. I learned quite a bit about organization and building one from the ground up. And I appreciate your time. All right. Thank you, folks. Bye-bye.